Do I have permission to cut up film negatives while we talk today?
Yeah, sure. You think you can use your whole brain?
I can.
Chatting with a friend while cutting up film negatives?
I can. I just was wanting to give you an explanation for the background noise, if there is any. That was the deal.
Okay, now I like that. What are these film negatives of?
It's the first roll of 120, I guess is how it should be said. 120 film that I shot. I don't know. I've never done this before, and so I'm just trying to learn what it's like to archive this stuff. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I don't know. I thought it'd be cool.
Are you making slides like you're a missionary and about to go around to churches in 1981?
No, I would love that, though.
I kind of want to make a slideshow, man. We should do that sometime.
Yeah, it would be fun. It'd be really fun.
How fun would that be to get our families together? Buy a slide projector, sit everyone down. We could get an overhead that we could put on a separate screen to keep them oriented with an outline of the slideshow that they're watching. And we could just walk them through a presentation of some things we want them to see with photographic support.
That would be amazing. They would
hate it. It would be miserable.
No, actually, I bought a slide projector the other day at an antique store.
Well, of course you did.
Yeah, and I bought a lot of slides. There was just a box of slides for sale next to the antique projector for sale, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy those too. And so it looked like somebody was on a vacation out west, and they flew in an airplane, and we're talking like 60s. So there was a photo of a wing, and it was a non-modern wing because it was rounded at the end. It didn't have winglets for efficiency. And so, I kind of went on a vacation with some dad and son who were hunting out west in the 60s. It was neat. So Dad was sitting there, and we just kind of like, what's going on here? I don't know. There's a backhoe in the background. It was really fun.
Dude, I bet I'd recognize it. I've been all over the West. I need to look at those. I mean, there's a chance that I could piece together where they were.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be really cool.
Golly, man. My grandpa on my mom's side, what a character. We've talked about him a little bit. He's the guy who saved the dude from falling into the Black Canyon of the Gunnison by grabbing him by his hair on a tour when he fell into a canyon.
What?
And then everybody pulled Grandpa up and the dude by his hair. Yeah, like I'd be dead. But this kid had a shock of dark hair. And to your grandpa or mom tell the
jokes,
story.
They're subtle. They're subtle jokes.
It's there. He's kicking rocks in, and he just slipped. He was a military kid. With his first 4 years in the military is how Grandpa described it. So he had some derogatory curse words to describe his idiocy. So he falls into the canyon in front of the whole family. And the Black Canyon, the Gunnisons, it's not a joke. It's not like, oh, that would probably hurt a little bit. You're dead. And Grandpa grabbed him by the hair as he's sliding over out of control. And then the rest of the family and other folks grabbed Grandpa, and they pulled the dude up. So dude intuitively reaches up and grabs Grandpa's wrist, and Grandpa's got him by the hair. So it's that Grandpa.
That's awesome. That's
cool. Kind of. Yeah, well, he was amazing. I mean, quite the character. This is the Grandpa that I told you about when I was out driving around in the country the other day, and we were looking at the B1s together. So
that's cool.
This Grandpa was alive and dadding during the prime era of American Western family travel. Like everything looked like the Wonder Years in all of Mom's photos and 8mm family videos and stuff like that. Can you picture that?
Really tall hair, like casserole dishes, stuff like that?
My mom's family was a little bit more practical than that, with Grandpa being a marksmanship instructor who got moved around in the Air Force. I mean, they were Alaskans. They were, more practical. But yes, that era of film, that look, that feel. And I used to love watching those things. They took all those videos eventually and they converted them to VHS or something in the mall in the 1990s. And, oh, man, they put all this music over the top, this piano music of the saddest songs ever. And then you watch your mom, who's now in her 60s, as a little girl, and you're like, I will get old and die someday. these beautiful moments, they're gone. I have to treasure everything that's happening right now because listen to that song. It's being played on piano and look at the little crackly lines on the video. It all changes so fast. It's just miserable to watch, but also I feel unending nostalgia for that. And so the idea of you just finding a family's treasure trove of that era, that moment of their life, and getting to go through it and try to reconstruct where they might have been or what those memories are about, that's really exciting to me.
Who they are, you know?
Yeah.
It's fascinating, dude. This was a vacation, and I'm sure someone wants these photos. But there's not really a way to find, hey, I was in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and I found these slides. Whose parents are these? I mean, there's not a place to do that. I mean, like, how do you find that information? So it's a strange thing. It makes me realize how quickly we lose connection with our ancestors. I mean, very, very quickly. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've discussed that in the past, but yeah, it's interesting.
If we do this long enough, we will have discussed everything in the past. So at some point, like, I think it's okay if in the course of a friendship something comes up, like, I don't know, I want twice.
Yeah,
that's all right.
It makes me wonder, how close are we to the infinite number of monkeys on infinite number of typewriters creating a work of Shakespeare kind of situation on the podcast?
I think we're a ways away from Shakespeare. I'm not a Shakespeare expert, but I've read some of it, and it was really good. I think we need to keep banging keys for a while to get there.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You know what else is cool about those slides you found, though? Is that's one of the last generations of humans who weren't overwhelmingly technologically augmented in their encountering of the world. Getting on that plane was a big deal. Look, I took a photo of the wing, and the way they took that photo, and that technology was slow and simple. They didn't goof around on their phone on the flight. They probably talked to the person sitting next to them, and that probably wasn't socially weird. It was probably normative. Also, I mean, there's a downside to some of these things. The person sitting next to them probably lit up a cigarette while they chit-chatted about where things were going, and they were all in a giant cancer tube the whole way to Phoenix or wherever they went. It's not that long ago, and it's so different what the people on the other side of that camera experienced as an everyday realization of life is so different than what we are experiencing right now. And so in a way, there's an anthropological interest in that.
Dude, even 10 years ago.
Yes, even 10 years ago. Well, what do you mean by 10 years ago?
Oh, that's a good point. By 10 years ago, I mean 2000. So I really mean 20 years ago.
We're so old. Hey, get off my lawn!
I do. Hey, by the way, did you get something in the mail?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did right here. And I've waited to talk to you about this. I grabbed this earlier, and
is it there beside you?
I immediately knew what I had. Yeah. So first of all, I'm not going to say into a microphone who this was addressed to. Okay, what I am going to say, for your dignity, because you are a man with a tidy, tidy, soapy mouth, and you don't say naughties, and I will give credit where it's due that is a decision you've made, and you don't say naughties. They weren't naughties. They were just incredibly clever, offensive things to say.
What do you mean? Where on the package?
I mean the name that you addressed the package to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was clever so that you would sneak it by anybody who might be offended. I had to sound it out, and what? Who is? Oh dear. Oh, this is from Destin. This is from Destin Sandlin. You made me say that phrase out loud in front of people at the UPS store, dude.
Did I really?
And it took me 2 tries. And the one lady is like, sir. Like,
sir.
Looking back, I can see that it registered for her immediately. Like, maybe she'd already done the work on it when it came in.
So you're like looking at the package with a furrowed brow, like, what is this, Mr.
No. Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's what's crazy, man, is they messed something up on the same mail day, and they put something for somebody else in there that was from a different box. I'm box 179. They put it at box 173 in there. And so I was thumbing through the mail. I'm like, thumbing through the mail. I'm like, oh, this one isn't me. I handed it back, and they're all kind of embarrassed. I'm like, oh, sorry, sometimes we miss it. That's fine. They're great. They're wonderful. And then I got to this other one. I'm like, oh, looks like we have another mistake here. This one is for... blue. And the lady behind the counter is doing like the note that is for you. We checked that, sir. If there are other customers, sir, please. She didn't say any of that, but I could tell that there is a serious moment of discomfort.
How did they check? Like, how do they know? So they took it to the other. They took it to the other customer, and they were like, "Is this you?" I'm so happy.
Dude, you came in like a wrecking ball to my UPS store and just sowed chaos everywhere.
Oh, is that the place where the guy recognized me when I was out there?
Yeah. I think that dude works at a different one now.
Oh, okay, good. So he didn't see it.
Yes. No, he didn't see it, but
good.
It was a pretty fascinating mail pickup. And so I grabbed that and I took it out to the vehicle and I had myself a real good laugh about it. And I have opened that up now, and what was in the package that was offensively but not swearingly titled is Foreigner 40. It's the 1977 to 2017 vinyl double album set with all kinds of cool pictures of Lou Gramm and Foreigner, who I didn't even know I liked until just a couple of years ago. And here's everything. This is rad, man. This is my new favorite album. Thank you.
It's your birthday present.
Oh, you remembered.
Yeah, you didn't read the note on it?
I did read the note on it.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't know if we were going to talk about birthday.
Yeah, it was your birthday present. Do you want to explain your birthday?
Okay, all right, let's do this thing. Yeah, well, I'm proud to announce that I have a new birthday. And it's always been my birthday, and it's a new birthday. And it's always been my birthday. My new birthday is October 4th, and it's a great day to be born. 10-4, good buddy.
Good buddy.
Yeah. You get it?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. No, I was hanging out with my friends Shane and Emily last year on her birthday, which is October 3rd. Maybe it was the day after we were hanging out. And we were talking about, people got together for party or whatever. And I was like, what's weird? Due to the nature of my birthday being on December 25th, I have never had a birthday party on my birthday with all of my friends. I traveled down the Baja one time with a couple of friends and Camilla, and that's the closest thing. It was not really a birthday party. I mean, sort of. I mean, it was cool. It was a one of those young person road trips, and it was fun. But I've never just had like hey, let's have cake and blow out candles and do the whole thing, and we'll hang up a sign, there'll be presents and stuff, birthday party on my birthday ever. And so she was like, you know what? Let's just make today your birthday, and then we'll just do parties on that. I was like, okay.
But you kind of laughed about it at the time, right?
Of course. Yeah, because you can't change your birthday. Yeah. Well, apparently you can. Because then a couple weeks back here, everybody's like, oh, we're going to go out and we're going to watch Monday Night Football.
To be clear, a year later,
year later.
That happened in, October the 4th of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year later.
A year later, with no discussion of it at all in any way, my buddy Austin, who has the ice cream shop, was like, all right, everybody come out for Monday Night Football. I was like, oh, I like hanging out with Austin. Let's go do that. And so I got to pick up my buddy Shane on the way out. They had this whole thing designed logistically so I would be comfortably the last person there. And I get out there with Shane, and we had a nice chat. We listened to some rock music on the way. Everything seems normal. And we walk in, and everybody who I love and who lives in Rapid City, they're all there, and they're all like, happy birthday. And I looked at Shane like, I didn't think today was your birthday. I mean, wasn't yesterday your wife's birthday? You guys are born one day. And then they're not looking at Shane. So I kind of looked around a little more like, oh, yeah, I knew it was a surprise party for somebody. Surprise. Like, I didn't really know what to do. I felt like I was ruining it. But they all kept looking at me. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's something rattling around in the back of my mind about some kind of birthday thing. Oh, my goodness. Emily remembered that we changed my birthday. And sure enough, that's what it was. She remembered. She carefully planned. She made invitations, handsome invitations, to my new birthday party. And we got together, and there were presents and activities, and we talked about things, and we played Star Fox 64. And we listened to music, and it was delightful. And then that was a birthday party like normal people have. And that was my first one ever. And it was great.
How old did you turn on your birthday, if you'd like to say?
I turned 45.
That's awesome, dude.
I don't mind saying a bit.
And so when you did that on your birthday, what is it like to have your first birthday party when you turn 45? What was that like?
Okay.
Let's do this. When you were a kid in school,
Yeah.
and you saw other kids have birthday parties, or maybe you went to other kids' birthday parties and you saw them blow out the candles, because there's always this moment where you are a kid, and you can see it on our kids, right? You see the 7-year-old look at the other 7-year-old that's blowing their candles out, and they kind of want to be the one that's blowing the candles out, but they're not.
Yes.
And they kind of want to be the one opening the presents, but they're not. So
Yes.
every birthday party you ever went to, you felt that. I mean, I'm not saying you're self-centered, but like that's a thing that kids feel, right?
Yeah, my birthday parties were awesome. I mean, I got to have birthday parties with people, just not on my birthday. And the family birthday parties we have, I mean, Christmas, my parents did a magnificent job with this. I never felt cheated growing up. I mean, it was awesome. But just the idea of having a birthday party with your friends on your birthday, like, yeah, that was always kind of a bummer that was never an option.
You
So,
got to
I got
share
no
your birthday with
complaints.
Jesus.
Which, as birthday buddies go, pretty good. Pretty good. No, here's honestly what I felt like. I've done the pastor thing for a long time, and that's a weird relationship to have with people. Pretty much my whole adult life, I've been doing the educational college world, teach classes, and also the pastor thing for pretty much all of it. And it's been great. It's a wonderful adulthood thus far. Very happy with it. But there's something weird about that role of pastor, of minister. You gradually hear all the things, and you get to be there for all of the blessings and the joyous occasions, and you get to be there for all of the tragedy and the heartache in people's lives. And at times, you kind of absorb the things that were difficult for them. You are sort of a conduit for forgiveness, though I don't think that's needed. I think forgiveness is something that's just sitting out there by merit of the character of God. Still, just because of how we're wired as people, a pastor is something of a conduit for that. And so you absorb some stuff, some bad memories, some things people want to go away. Now, a minority of people, when that's your job and you're there for all that stuff and you have those absolutely harrowing conversations like once or twice a week, conversations you do all the time, but that they will never forget. Some people are going to draw really close to you and be like, you are a human and you are my human and we are friends and we shall be forever. But for most folks, they're not totally sad to see that walk out the door, because with that goes the memories of what happened, and you eat that sin. You're not blamed for it. You're not the scapegoat, but it functions a little bit like the scapegoat. And it's an okay thing. That's the deal. You know what you're signing up for. It's an odd relationship, and you care about people and they care about you back, but it's an odd relationship. And so we go and we have this party the other day, and I'm like, not only is this my first birthday party I've ever had on my birthday, just with not family, it's with all my friends, but also this is the first time I've done something like this where none of it is mediated by church. A bunch of people there have beliefs, go to church, whatever. We don't go to the same church or anything like that. Like, really, none of us do who were there at that birthday party. And so I kind of stopped everything, and I didn't clink my glass or anything, but basically I did. I just told everybody thanks. Like, hey, this is special. This is kind of cool. Because in this room at this moment, this is just a different deal for me relationally as an adult, and it means a tremendous amount. I value everything else in the relationships I've had within the context of church and ministry and all of that stuff too. But this was just a different animal. And so it's weird that it was such a big deal to me to have a fake birthday party that isn't fake because that's my birthday now or my other birthday now. But it was meaningful. yeah, it was cool to experience something somewhat pedestrian and normal for most people, but completely brand new and fresh for me as an adult and a dad in his 40s. So, yeah, I guess that's my hodgepodge of emotions. Is that okay?
I think it's cool that she remembered your birthday for the entire year. It was a throwaway joke you made. When you made the joke together, was there like deep down where you kind of like, I kind of wish that would be real, like that it kind of would be funny if that was real, or did you completely forget it?
No, I thought about it for a while, and even in the moment, I was like, huh, that's kind of fun. Like the reality of it, as fun as it is to joke about, like that's my birthday now. What's fun about it is like, that's friend birthday.
Right.
That's the one that is shareable, and it doesn't clutter anything up because it's October 4th. I mean, what are you doing then? And then birthday is, it's birthday. Yeah, I guess I did think about it a little bit and was like, it would be fun to have that as an option.
So happy birthday. That's why I sent you the album. I hope you like it.
I love it. The gift came in two parts. One is the album itself, which is rad. And the other part was the incident at the UPS store that you gave me.
You're welcome.
As a free bonus gift. Thank you. What's the last wedding you went to?
The one with you, actually. The one that you did in Tennessee.
Okay. All right. You didn't have any more all summer long.
No, I don't think so.
That's something. That was not my last. That was my second to last wedding that I've been to. That one was beautiful, just wonderful. Rocky and Abby are doing great. They're killing it as a young couple, and so that's awesome. Good to see that off on the right foot. But I had another wedding for my nephew in August. His name is Kesselon. That's an unusual name. Kesselon is his name. And they got married in Nebraska. It's just a beautiful venue in Hastings, Nebraska, which is pretty flatland farm country. But there's this property, this wedding venue out on the edge of town where they've got some old pine forest that I think was planted back by the frontier people. And the pine forest has got a little garden in it and some paths that wind through it. And then they cut out an upper pond and filled it with beautiful fish, big fish, built up some rocks and this cool waterfall. And it flows down this creek and drops down into this larger pond. And the grass is perfectly green and flourishing. And they put up a little wedding arch right in front of the koi-filled pond. And it was beautiful, dude. You're looking out over everything. Lovely, lovely wedding. It's the kind of wedding where you dress up, even if you're not in the wedding. You know how that is, right? You can usually feel that out, right? Like what you should wear to a wedding just from the invitation or the people.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So basically it goes like this. Am I wearing slacks, or am I wearing khakis? Am I wearing a button-up shirt? Am I throwing a coat on, or am I going full tie? That's kind of how I think about it. Yeah.
Is there ever a scenario in the South where you would wear jeans to a wedding?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I think a buddy of mine named Ben, they had an outside wedding, and the bride and groom rode off on dirt bikes. I don't know. Maybe I wore khakis to that.
Oh, yeah.
But it was cool. Yeah, it was really fun.
I did a wedding up on top of the Loop Road where you and I went trout fishing for the first time.
Yeah?
And there's that really big lake just, a few hundred yards from where you and I were fishing that creek. I did a wedding there for my dear friends Thomas and Samantha. Well, you know Samantha. She designed the winged hussar.
Yeah.
That was her handiwork.
Yeah, Sam.
I did their wedding up there, and they had a strip canoe, the most beautiful strip canoe I've ever seen, like made in some artisan's garage in Lander. And when they got done saying their vows, they just paddled away out into the serene afternoon high mountain lake with trout popping on the surface all around them. It was magic.
That's awesome. Did they come back, or
Dirt
that was
bikes
the
right
last
up
time you saw her?
No, I assume they made it to the other shore. The canoe was recovered, so I don't know. I hope they're happy. No, they just went to the other side where the lodge was, and we met them over there later.
So
And
nobody shot
fortunately,
like an
everyone's
arrow,
fine.
a flaming arrow at the canoe, and it was like a Viking wedding.
No, I tried, but I missed 4 times, so they were almost out of range, and then my uncle had to do it.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're telling a
But-
story.
so
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean, the point is, whether you're talking about dirt bike wedding or, I mean, you know what to do. You have the sense of what the decorum of the wedding is going to be going into it. Usually, you can read that. I can read that. This is going to be a pretty wedding. Now, this is a true Nebraska couple. Hailey she's a farm gal. She's tough. So at first I was thinking, I bet this is going to be a little bit more rural in style. But as I got more of a sense of it, I was like, no, this is going to be one of those real elegant, pretty weddings. And it was. So we dressed up as a family. We looked sharp. We got outfits and everything. I did the full on suit thing. And I mean, we're crispy. We're well presented for the Whitman family, much more than we would normally do. For work, for some of these church videos I do, I got a smaller drone. I got one of those DJI Mini 2s where I was flying an old Phantom 3 Pro. Have you ever flown one of those Phantom 3s, the old ones?
Okay. I can tell something's shifting in the story. I know you well enough to know the
Yeah.
story is shifting.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Have you ever flown a DJI Phantom 3, like one of the big old ones?
No, I have not.
Have you seen one of the little ones, the new mini ones that you can get for like $500-$600?
Yeah, the Mini 2. I've flown that. Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous little drone, super stable, easy to fly, very manageable. I got that so I could fly it in churches when I go and do these videos where I go to churches on 10-minute Bible hour.
Okay.
So I just flew it at a Presbyterian church right before the wedding. So we come out, it's wedding day, everybody's dressed up, and I talked to Kessel, and I'm like, hey, I got this thing. Do you want me to fly it around your wedding and just get really cool drone shots
During the wedding?
the ceremony? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can put the thing a gajillion miles high.
Stop.
No big deal.
Time out. Is this an outdoor wedding or an indoor wedding?
No, it's an outdoor wedding. Nobody's going to hear it.
Okay. Okay, I'm with you. I was like, what are you thinking? Okay, I'm with you. Let's go.
Okay, good. I don't mind that. What are you thinking? So I'm, as people are getting ready and they're doing photos, I'm getting these really cool shots just cruising right along the water. You can see the koi like in the foreground of the shot and glistening sun. It worked really, really well. It is a new drone. I'm not entirely comfortable with the controls yet. It feels a little different than the older stuff, but yeah, I like video games, no problem. It's going great. So now we're in the forest with the guys, and we are filming like the typical dude photography shots. The photographer has them like, all right, now sling your jackets over your shoulder and walk forward, but don't quite look at the camera. And then, these guys in their 20s do that. And they're like, yeah, it's just, you got to do all these shots, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to fly the drone at the exact same time. And that's going to look pretty cool as they sort of walk toward the drone. So I give them plenty of distance. I don't want to hit them with the drone. And I put it right at eye level for the guys so that the shot will be gorgeous. And it is gorgeous. And I got it. No, don't worry. I got it way, way, way away from them.
Okay.
Absolutely no problem. I'm not going to screw up their wedding.
Okay.
And so I have it out of the way of the photographer, out of the shot for the photographer, away from the guys. And I'm kind of backing up toward the forest, just pulling this drone back at super slow speed. And the shot looks sweet. Well, I stumble ever so slightly, just catch the back of my right heel, which causes me to yank on the stick, surging the drone back directly into my face. Directly into my face. I got hit by my own drone with the propellers running full speed in my face.
Did you get cut?
Oh, did I ever get cut? Okay, you have a video in your inbox. The first of the 2 emails I sent you is the footage of me getting hit in the face.
Oh, like you actually have footage.
You can go ahead and pull that up at your leisure.
Do I open the one that says don't open yet or the one that says don't open either?
Don't open yet is the one you want to open there.
But okay, got it. Opening. All right.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, let me play this.
It just occurs to me that what I just said to you is like, having a safe word that is absolutely do not stop. That's the safe word.
Oh God,
Wait.
it's so awkward. They're
Make it something different.
they're clearly having to walk for the photographer.
Yes.
So
Okay, tell me what you're seeing. Describe it.
All right, so they're walking. They're doing like an intro to a sitcom from the 90s. They're like, "Oh, let's look at each other and laugh. We're going to laugh. Yeah, and I'm going to point with a knife hand and then shake your hand because you're getting married." Ha ha ha. And then all of a sudden it's like, and then you're on, it's like pointing at the sky. I don't know what's happening there. It's like, it's going from the most controlled, planned out human interactions to the most chaotic, uncontrolled things are like somebody's hurt. Okay, can I open? Don't open either.
No, you
Okay,
cannot. We'll
okay.
get to that in a minute.
Okay,
There's no audio on the drone, which is good.
what did you
But
say?
I kept my composure. I don't think I said anything alarming that would ruin a wedding between two people who met at a Christian camp in Nebraska. I really don't think I did. I was fairly composed. So as you can see, it hit me, and then you notice it never goes to the ground. I caught it. Like,
Yeah.
It hit me. It kind of rolled down my face, still running, and then I caught it at about chest height. So it's just running in my hand, and you'll also be able to tell that it pivots away from everyone.
Right.
So it hit me. I turned and walked away. Gone, out, bye. That was it. No, sorry guys, nothing. Grabbed it, caught it, walked away. I knew immediately that's going to have visible physical consequences. I can feel it.
So you were hurt
So
badly.
I was hurt. It was a lot.
Did it get
And,
your eye?
Well, all right, let's go there now. I've thought about this moment a ton. It got my eyebrows. It was less than an inch from both eyeballs, and it
Oh.
got the bridge of my nose.
Goodness, man.
I mean, it was so stinking close. I will never have a drone close enough to me to be able to, well, we'll talk more about the lessons in a minute, I suppose. I learned things is the point. No, it didn't get my eyes, but I could feel it got the bridge of my nose, and I could feel it nicked my eyebrows and my forehead and my cheek and other stuff too. So I'm walking down this piney trail that I told you about where no one is going to be. I can see where everybody else is kind of gathered and mingling. I know where the bathrooms are. They're in an auxiliary building. I can get there without seeing anyone. Now, bear in mind, I'm in a very pretty suit with a whole lot of white, and we're dressed up and we look good. And so I'm walking down this path, and I can feel, that sensation
Blood.
of that's warm liquid, that's blood, and it's coming from everywhere. It's a lot. And so I'm kind of cupping my beard and my chin, and I can see my chin my hand starting to fill up. And I'm like, dang, I do not have long hair. Like I need to pick up the pace or I'm going to wreck this.
Dude, you're like actually injured. This is trauma.
Well, I don't know yet. I just know that, your face bleeds really easy, and I cut it in a lot of places. And so I'm hustling. I'm like, cool, there's nobody here. I'm going to make it. And I'm about 20 feet from the end of the piney forest, and then it's only about 10 more feet to the bathrooms. And I'm there with nobody seeing me. And at that moment, out from around the dark corner of the trees steps my daughter. She steps around the corner, and the look on her face told me immediately, oh yeah, it's bad. She just does this, Dad. And I'm like, okay, kid, here's the deal. I think I'm fine. I have to obviously get to the bathroom. I want you to go get your mom discreetly and send her to the third bathroom door. Okay. Are you okay? It's a lot of blood. We're going to find out. And so I was pretty chill. Like, it's always good when your kid walks up when you're hurt, because then you suddenly become very brave, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, put on the brave face.
Uh-huh. Well, as you couldn't see my face, it was just a bloody Halloween Nightmare Carrie mess, but whatever. So she goes to get Camilla. I go into the bathroom, and seriously, dude, it is like a horror movie. It's like those things they told you when you were a kid, and they're like, if you look into the mirror at exactly midnight and chant the following thing, your face all turns to blood. I don't
Bloody
think
Mary,
that works.
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Matt.
It's shocking. And I wish in that moment I just snapped one picture. But in that moment, I still don't know what's under the blood. And so I put my face down in the sink. I got some towels and stuff. I'm trying to keep the blood off of my suit. That's been the objective the whole time. Don't wreck the suit. We don't have backup clothes. The wedding's going to start in a few minutes. Like, come on. And so I'm cleaning up. Camilla knocks. I shuffle over, unlock the door, let her in. She, what happened? Yeah, I flew that new drone right into my face. And I could see that her response was like a mix of uh-oh and good one.
And that's why we married who we married.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's the initial like, are you going to lose your vision? Are you hurt? Whatever. Okay, whatever. You're not. Now I can make fun of you.
Yes. That's exactly what it was. And that's exactly what this is. And so I start scrubbing things off and cleaning it off and like rinsing out my Viking beard and all of this. And it honestly, it looks like I just went and raided the eastern coast of Scotland or something and made off with all of the treasures of a monastery along with the rest of the Vikings. Like, it was disgusting, man. But it starts cleaning up and I start seeing the depth of all these cuts. And it's pretty manageable. It's pretty surfacey. And so I keep applying pressure. And when you have a cut like that where it's really fine, there's swelling around either side of the cut, really narrow swelling.
Oh, yeah.
So I had that. It looked ridiculous. But I got most of the blood to settle down, cold water, ice, a bunch of time. It settled down. The bleeding would open up a little bit even after I put pressure on it.
Did you have Band-Aids? Like, what did we do here? Like, what did you have to stop the bleeding?
Nothing.
Or are we in a, like, shove toilet paper in face cuts situation? Where are we at?
Yes, it's like that. Toilet paper, paper towels from the bathroom. That's what I have at my disposal. And Band-Aids, oh my goodness, that would have been worse. I think a lot of people ultimately didn't notice, but I also went out of my way to just tell the people I knew. Like, I'm going to own it. I'm leaning into this. I don't want to act like I'm trying to pass this thing off. I flew that, that drone that you've seen flying around? Yeah, that's me flying it. I flew it into my own face. I'm an idiot. This happened. That's why my face is how it is now.
Yeah.
And so I got the Emperor Palpatine monster face now. I come out of the bathroom, and as I'm talking with people, I feel like I've got it all dried up. But every now and then, people will kind of wince and point at my forehead. I'm like, oh, is it gushing again? Yeah. Okay, just a minute. So I have to go back to the bathroom and try to shut down the bleeding again. Then I come back out for a while, and pretty soon my face is bleeding again. It was just nonsensical. But the gusher never happened again. It's pretty settled down. And so the saving grace was that rather than being seated in the front row with my family, Kesselon wanted me to film the wedding. And so I got to stand all the way in the back and just run the drone. No big deal. It was absolutely fine. But I've got some photos of a couple hours after the incident in that second email, and you can look at those now. You'll see it's not that horrifying.
The don't open either, that one?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that one.
Okay.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's a double. You got 4 big cuts. No, 5 if you count the little one between your eyebrows. That's 5 slices on your face. One is a double.
Yeah, there's a lot more that you can't, you just can't see in the picture, but they're there. I think I counted 16 cuts that I got.
Dude. Any scars?
No, none.
That's awesome.
It cleaned up. Yeah, but the next couple of episodes that we did together where we did a Zoom call or something, I intentionally was like, oh, well, let's not do a Zoom call on this one because I didn't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to see it and be like, dude, what happened to your face? Well, dang it. Like, I wanted to tell you that with mics on so that you could have the authentic surprise of learning what an idiot your friend is.
No, dude.
So,
I mean, stuff happens.
I intentionally hid it from you. I didn't send you any pictures or anything because I wanted the story to unfold like this.
Okay, I was thinking about this on a hike recently.
All right.
There's this period of time when you are in most danger of hurting yourself. And it's immediately after you become proficient at a talent, but you haven't mastered it. So there's this, it's like beyond Dunning-Kruger. Dunning-Kruger is when you think you know a lot about a thing because you know like the 3 words having to do with it or whatever.
Like knowing the words Dunning and Kruger put together means that?
Exactly. I know nothing about psychology, but my understanding, and this is, yes, good point. I have Dunning-Kruger about
Dunning-Kruger. I wasn't trying to jab you. I'm making fun of myself too. Everybody says that thing, but none of us really understand it.
You overestimate your abilities, and when you're actually not very good at the thing, that's when people get hurt. Well, that and when the clock strikes midnight. We had a rule growing up, me and a buddy. I used to go build a bunch of stuff in the garage. We had a science project we were working on together. And it seems like when the clock strikes midnight, that's when I start damaging myself with bandsaws and hammer strikes to fingers and all kinds of stuff. So I just eventually came up. Yeah. This was when I was a teenager and I didn't know how to use any of the tools. And so I was just like, okay, new rule, midnight, I go to bed. Or at least I quit using tools. I still have a scar on my left thumb. I was cutting a block of wax with a bandsaw, which is stupid because the wax gums up the saw teeth.
Right.
And it wasn't cutting fast enough because after the saw lost its effectiveness, I kept wanting it to cut. So I just pushed harder. And then the block of wax split, and then I just went, and it was...
Man, at least that blade was covered in wax.
I know. My dad worked 3rd shift at the time. He was really, really tired because he had, I don't know, he was about to go to work or something. I don't remember. But Steve-O was there, and I would have cried tears as a 13-year-old boy if Steve-O hadn't been there. But I went in, and Steve-O had to wake my dad up in his tighty-whities. It's like, Mr. Sandlin, Destin cut himself. Could you come out? And Dad comes out there and goes, let me see it, boy. Let's go run water on it. And he just ran like chlorinated tap water on it. That hurt. And then totally would have cried. And then he's like, I think it's going to be all right. Let me get a Band-Aid. And Dad told me later, he's an EMT, emergency medical technician. He said, yeah, you really needed stitches, but I was really in no shape to take you to the doctor. It's like I was really, really tired.
So enjoy your scar.
Yeah, exactly.
Let this serve as a reminder.
He's like, yeah, man, you needed stitches, but you do what you can do. And so it was. My point is, I didn't know how to use the tools, and that's when I damaged myself. And you do know how to use the drone. You've done really good stuff with it, but you're not like a professional drone pilot or anything.
No.
Why is it that we, as people, we get this little surge of overconfidence when we, I don't know, you remember what it was like when you first learned how to mow the yard or whatever. It's like, oh, well, I know how to do everything now. I know everything.
And isn't it odd how much that fluctuates?
Yeah.
I mean, how can the same person, me, in the same body with the same brain, eating roughly the same types of food from day to day, one day look at the world and be like, you know who kicks butt? Me. And you know who can do anything? Well, I'll just say it since nobody else is here and I'm having this conversation alone with myself in a bathroom. Also me. So I'm going to go do literally everything, and consequences be damned, I'm going to nail it. Like, that is me one day. And still to this day, me the next day is, oh, you suck at everything.
Yeah,
what
I know.
are you doing? People are going to figure out you're a complete fraud at some point. That's going to be so embarrassing. You can't do that. Hire a guy. You have no clue, man. That is beyond your capacity. It's the same me. It's like 14 hours apart. What the heck?
I know. It makes you wonder. This is about to get really philosophical. Something I've thought about is I don't know where the soul is connected to the body, but I do know.
I think it's the Cossacks.
Good delivery on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's like I'm sitting here thinking of this. That was my friend. That was an excellent delivery. That's all I can say there.
Thank you.
So I don't know where that connection takes place, but I know the thinking can be clouded by my emotional state at the time. And it's far easier for me to see this in other people. It's like, oh, well, I want to just hang out with this person in my family, but they're just grumpy. Like my son doesn't want to whatever, I can see that in other people. It's very difficult for me to see it in myself. Like I'm not completely self-aware about how much my thinking is influenced by emotions in the moment.
Yeah, likewise.
I'm not saying that you had an emotion that meant like I am drone lord, but there was clearly something where you're like, oh, I am one with the machine. I can do anything. Yeah,
the machine is one with me.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and I knew in the moment, like that's risky. Normally here you'd want one person running the camera and looking at the drone, and the other person handling the piloting aspect. But I was doing both, and so I had the controls right up in front of me, so I was seeing in real time just exactly at the same eye level what the drone was seeing because I wanted the shot to be really cool. And I thought I could do it, and I don't think I felt competitive with the photographer. I really don't think I felt anything like that. They're good. I'm some guy who happens to have to film things from time to time as part of his job, but I'm not special or good at this. I really don't think I felt that. I would have in my mid or early 20s. I just wanted to get a cool shot, and I really thought that was the way to do it, but I knew I was cutting a corner because there was only one me, and somebody should have been watching that because I was flying it at eye height, only a few feet in front of me. It was hubris. I flew too close to the sun. The wax melted, man.
I actually have a strange experience similar to this, but not, I don't know. We gave software too much authority. So back in the day, how do I say this? Okay, I'm just trying to, I'm thinking through all of the details and I'm stripping off the things I can't. So basically, when I started working as a developmental weapons tester for the government, it was before drones were really a thing. Like one of the programs I can remember working on was a man who said, you know what? I need a way to see on the other side of a hill in battle. And this is, not long after 9/11. He said, when I was in Desert Storm and we needed to see on the other side of a hill, we didn't have any way to do it. And he said, so what I've done is I've created a mortar, like you one that you drop in the tube, foomp, and it fires. I've created a mortar that has a camera on it, and it has an RF link, and we can fire a mortar, and it will give you 10 seconds of video of what's on the other side of the hill. And I can remember reading the test plan for this and thinking, this is amazing. You can see on the other side of a hill. That's incredible. And so that gives you an idea of where I entered the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I was doing this thing where we would fire missiles at remote control tanks, like main battle tanks. And I remember thinking, what would be cool is if we had a way of having like a remote control helicopter that would hover above the tank so that we could see from an external view the impact. That would be amazing. And then my buddy that was working with me on it, we just laughed. We're like, yeah, like they could ever create a controller that was that good. Like they had Futaba controllers for helicopters at the time, but it was all teleop. And so you had to have a pilot somewhere else piloting the thing. And we're like, yeah, like you could ever build a stability augmentation control system that could handle that. That'd be crazy. And then fast forward 10, 15 years, and then you're flying a drone in front of a funny handshake at a wedding photography session. So anyway, somewhere in between those 2 points, we decided that we were going to work on this thing called unmanned systems. And we were going to have a remote control vehicle. I'll just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And we were going to be observing it from the sky with a remote control, autonomously guided UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle. And so I had to do all the safety paperwork on all this. And it was the biggest of deals. Like, can you imagine? We did this thing, and we won't talk about the ground vehicle thing, but we will talk about the aerial vehicle. So when you program an autonomously guided aerial vehicle, it's not a weapon, it's just an observation platform, you have to do things like program where it lands. Like, hey, if the battery gets low, what happens? Does it just land right there? Or does it try to go to some home point, some waypoint or something like that? Like, what do you do? Because you don't want it to land over there where the bad guy is.
Right.
You want it to go home. It was programmed in such a way where it would go back to a home point, which is what your drone does now, too. But we were figuring all that out in the time. That wasn't just an automatic. There was all these philosophical arguments for different things. And so long story short, I found myself in a position where I was controlling the safety of a system on the ground that was being observed by a system in the air. And then we hear a call on the radio. And it's like, hey, I'm getting weird commands from the drone. It's doing weird stuff. And we're like, okay. And we had a human in the vehicle, and I was standing nearby the vehicle because I wanted to make sure everything was safe. And I had a big red button where I could just kill Skynet at any moment. And then all of a sudden we hear, wham! And I still remember the hat the guy was wearing. He's in the vehicle, and he's like, what just happened? I was like, I don't know. I was looking at and we looked down, and there's this shattered drone on the ground. We're like, what?
Like right there by you?
Like right there. And we're talking, it's about as big as probably 2/3 your wingspan. Nothing huge.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
nothing
big.
Yeah, it's big enough to do more than propeller slashes on your head, which, by the way, I'm very glad that your eyes weren't hurt. And so...
Oh, could have changed my world.
It really could have. And so we're looking at this shattered drone, and we're like, that wasn't in the safety paperwork. And we're like, how does it land here? The only explanation is the pilot took over control and tried to hit us. That's the only explanation. And so I called the safety officer down there. I was like, okay, somehow I have hit an unmanned ground vehicle with an unmanned aerial vehicle, all the while having my hand on the big red button. And at this point in time, I was like, I must be the only person that's ever done this on accident, at least. And so, we had a big safety review. And what was happening is the aerial vehicle's battery had an intermittent connection, is what it seems like because of how the thing was reporting. And it was like, hey, I'm out of battery. I need to go home. And then it was like, oh, no, I'm good on battery. I'll go back. It was like, no, you're out of battery. And it just did this over and over and over. And we had assigned it a loiter point, which was the vehicle, because we wanted it to observe the vehicle. And so it's like, go home, stay here. Go home, stay here. And all the time it's losing altitude until it, wha-bam, tried to hit me. I don't know why I told you that story, but...
Well, here's what I heard from that story. I mean, we screw things up, and then we try to learn things from the things we screw up. And sometimes the things we screw up are because of hubris, like in my situation. Sometimes the things we screw up were entirely well-intentioned, and we took good steps, and how could we have known that? But that's still reality. That screw-up still happened. But I guess my home stretch question for you is, how do you convert those kind of stories, those kind of things where you shank something, into something redeeming that positively affects your life and other people's lives moving forward? How do you learn from that stuff? What do you do in the moment?
I want to take your question. I want to twist it just a little bit.
I accept.
This is the problem. I learned that lesson in a very specific way. I was there when we figured out, hey, we need home points. I was there. Drones from here to the end of time will probably have home points, but I was there when we figured, does that make any sense? Like, it wasn't me specifically. There were thousands of people all over the world figuring this out at the same time. So it wasn't like it happened in Alabama. It happened everywhere at the same time. But as a result of that, we learned why we wanted to do it in the way we did. Like, we made the mistakes. And so we're like, oh, well, of course, we're going to do this policy because of the mistakes that happen if you don't. Once the policy's in place and you move forward, nobody remembers why the policy exists because they didn't internalize the wounds you had on your face. Moving forward, you're going to be like, hey, kids, don't fly the drone at eye level ever. Why? Oh, because, you could get hit. Whatever, Dad. I have the controller right here. Why would I fly the drone into my face? They don't know the part of the story about, well, you could be in control and then your foot slip and then you lose control. That's the part of the story they don't have.
Right.
this is the problem. The problem is when we make mistakes and we learn from them through physical pain. I believe that pain is a tool to be used to teach us lessons and help us. When we no longer have the benefit of the pain that was experienced in learning the lesson, we just have the results of whatever the lesson was, it's a little cheaper. I don't know if this is making any sense.
No, I think it is making sense. Here's what I heard a few different people say, and this is a composite of advice I've heard from tons of people I know, people who've written things, that a mistake that you learn nothing from is expensive. I mean, it costs you. You hurt yourself, others, you waste money, you waste time, you break something, you hurt your reputation, whatever. It's just squandered cost. But a mistake you learn things from, all of that cost can be relabeled tuition. And so anytime you make a mistake, you're immediately presented with a choice to either recapture the cost by turning it into tuition and internalizing whatever needed to be learned there, or out of frustration, disgust, self-loathing, blame, excuse-making, whatever, you can not recapture any of that cost, let it be a complete loss, a total debacle, double down on the mistake, and learn nothing. Not my idea. That's not natural or intuitive to me at all. This is people who I admire and who I think live well have suggested that in their own words to me.
Okay, so heard, understood, acknowledged, everything you said.
Okay.
Can you take that and crunch it down for me and give me a sentence that says that so that something I can remember?
There's nothing you can do about mistakes you've already made, but you can redeem the value from that mistake by learning something from it.
Make your mistakes worth it?
Yeah, that's pretty good. You and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
What happens when you screw something up? You and I have known each other and have been honest enough with each other and close enough as friends that, I mean, you're that tight with somebody for that long, you're going to see them screw stuff up. You're going to see unimpressive decisions, unimpressive days, both ways. And we've both seen it in each other, though I can't immediately think of a whole bunch of them on your end. I can think of a whole bunch of them on my end. And you've seen it. You've been there for that. Like, look, we both know what the process is. We both thought about how to recover from mistakes, big and small. And principle number one of recovering from a mistake is there is no time travel. You cannot unmake it. There is no such thing as true, absolute atonement. You can take good steps. You can make things right with people as much as possible, but the mistake happened. It's part of the story. It's part of the deal. You can't control that, and wasting energy on just regret or resentment or spiraling because a mistake happened. We've both seen again and again in our lives and others, you don't get anything for that. There are other things you can do in response to screwing something up that can be somewhat redemptive, but time dictates that there's nothing to be gained in just wishing you hadn't done that. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. And I think there is a point to be made here that we're talking about mistakes, not like trespasses, right? Like, we're talking about, I was trying to do it this way and it didn't work and I got hurt. Or mistakes and failure, they seem different. Like, failure's like, I'm going to try this thing and it's either going to work or it's not. Are they different? Are mistakes and failure different? Because I love failure.
Yeah. I think the shaded area of those two circles overlaps quite a bit.
I think it does.
I mean, how many things can you think of in your life where you were like, screw you, I am going to develop a malicious plan that I would never reveal to the world because it would make me look like a monster, and I'm going to hurt you a lot for my benefit and for my pleasure, because I'm just going to grant myself an evil pass for these next few hours, and I'm going to hurt you. When's the last time you did that?
Never.
Okay. I think I've been a jerk.
Oh, yeah, I've been a jerk.
And in retrospect, it probably would look evil on a video recording.
Well, let me say
but
this.
My motives inside were justification. I was wronged. I'm entitled to this. It's about time I stuck up for myself. I'm not going to take anymore. I'm doing this thing.
Yeah, you just
There's
said,
always some nobility in my mind.
Those are two different things. Like you know what? I'm just going to go evil for a minute. That's one thing. And then you know what? they shouldn't be allowed to do that, and I'm going to do something. Those are different. One of them's self-aware and one of them's not. Like the self-aware evil genius is scary.
Yes.
Those people exist, and it's up to people who want to stand up for what is right to sit down at the chess table with them and try to beat them.
I'll tell you who I think is scarier than that person, though.
Who?
Is the person who thinks they're doing what is right, but they act like Thanos.
Yeah.
That person is scary. Thanos thought he was right and that he was the only one with the moral courage to do what actually had to be done.
To be clear, you're talking about Thanos in the Marvel universe that said, I'm going to delete half of all of creatures to preserve resources for the other half of the creatures. Like he thought he had a moral justification. Yeah.
Yes, so he gathered all of these sources of great ancient power throughout the galaxy, according to the myth, and then snapped his fingers while focusing on eliminating half of living things in all of existence so that the resources would go further. Somebody had to do a reset like that. Well, the thing that everybody quickly pointed out was, dude could have just envisioned double the resources.
Why have I never thought about that?
It's not a plot hole.
It's so obvious.
Yeah, it's not a plot hole. It's intentional. Right. You're supposed, nothing personal. You're supposed to be able to think of that because it's supposed to be such an obvious solution that you look at Thanos and you're like, if I could just talk with him for 5 minutes. I think he thinks what he's doing is good and he thinks he's explored all the solutions, but clearly he hasn't. There is another better answer to this. Dude, you've just become fixated on one idea and you might think you're doing good, but you're the most evil thing ever. That to me is the scary person. That to me is the scary version of me. The one that is sure I am morally right and that I understand the equation in ways other people don't, and that I'm willing to take decisive, irrevocable action to do the thing that is right, even if it affects some other people. The flashes of that in me are freaky. The me who thinks I can pilot a drone better than I actually can, and I almost ruined my nephew's wedding by blinding myself with a drone error.
I'm laughing. It's not really funny.
I'm human. I'm an idiot. How many times did I mutter that to myself as I walked to the bathroom? I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. You're an idiot. But it's not malicious. That's just dumb. It's not even really pride. I was just trying to make a nice video for somebody I love to make their day happy. It's just a mistake that a person makes. But the one thing that all of these mistakes have in common, the ones that were entirely well-meaning, like my silly drone thing, the ones that were a little more malicious, where I talk myself into, no, I'm not taking it anymore, I'm doing this, but really I was wrong, or the ones that are wildly malicious, where somebody just flips the evil switch for a little while. I've been good for 20 years. I'm going to be not good for one day. All of those have one thing in common. They're locked in time. Chronologically, regardless of how you got to the mistake, you can't simply unmake it. You have to somehow figure out what to do in the present you have now to redeem it, to restore it, to try to do justice or make things right, to fix as best as possible, to forgive and seek forgiveness as best as possible for this thing that you broke regardless of your motives. And that process is hard, man.
Matt, you suggested that we just straight up acknowledge some of the patrons that have supported for so long. And I am completely on board with this. There's a couple of problems with this, though.
Okay.
We can't say every name, and I want to. I want to sit down, look each patron in the eye. Can we just imagine we're doing that right now? So we're sitting down. It's a well-lit park. There's 2 park benches that are 3 foot apart for some reason, facing each other. I don't know why. And I'm looking at you in your eyes.
My eyes are closed.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at the patrons. I don't know what you're doing. But you're flying a drone.
I'm wearing a shirt this time. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the patron. I'm like, hey, patron, you are a winged hussar. You have supported us on No Dumb Questions. I want you to know I genuinely am grateful for your support. I'm looking at your eyes still. Okay, now it's got a little awkward, so I'm going to look away and make a joke. What are you doing over there, Matt?
Just for a second.
What are you doing over there, Matt?
Oh, I was just trying to smooth this out so it wouldn't be uncomfortable or weird. But then after I crack some little joke, I'm like, no, seriously. And then really, really seriously.
And then you come sit down beside me, and then now you're on the bench beside me.
Yeah, I do.
Now you're looking at the patron.
Yeah.
And I'm just
and I'm like,
yeah.
Hey, I didn't want to eavesdrop on your conversation with Destin, but I kind of overheard a little bit of it. And it was important for me to make sure that you understood that I feel the exact same way. This might sound snarky. Is it starting to sound snarky? Because it's not. Because really, that's what I would want to communicate if time worked in such a way that we had the opportunity to sit and shoot the breeze and bounce questions back and forth about everything, because I appreciate these people.
I do. And what if we just, like you were suggesting, we read some of the names, and this is just indicative of the greater support. I mean, the reality is we cannot read this whole list of names because of, like you said, how time works. But Jeremiah, I'm super thankful for you. Sauon, who's supporting apparently at some point in the podcast, we developed a dollop of mayonnaise tier. Don't know how that happened, but thank you.
I do.
Ben, thanks. Brian, Bryce, Caleb. There's 3 Calebs right in a row. Man, we're just grateful.
Well, including the people who've been a part and are on to working on different things. Andy Katonic, who we've talked about before. Samuel Chun, Branson Rogers, all people who jumped in for extended periods of time.
There's a guy named Jeremiah Gallant. He has supported for a really long time, and I'm very grateful. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Zach Banks, who I see all around the internet interacting with a whole bunch of different things that I do, and who I have known from an internet comment-only context for a long time. He is the first patron of the program who remains a patron of the program. So he's in position 1 right now. So thank you, Zach.
I see Matthew Palka all over the internet as well, interacting with what we do on No Dumb Questions. So thank you, Matthew. Appreciate the support.
I see here that in the very, very early going, on day 2 of the podcast, Jesse Yang jumped in and supported for 4 or 5 months, and again, helped get the thing off the ground. Thank you, Jesse.
I've got this group here that have supported for quite a bit. I'm just going to read several of them. Michael Gunlock, Chua Yuzan, Caleb Ruther, David Coucher, Cliff Aldridge. I got 3 or 4 more.
David was at the event in Nashville at the ice cream shop.
Was he really? That's awesome.
I think, if I remember right, he came with his daughter, I believe, to that.
That's impressive.
Both there.
The dates line up. Travis Ostrom, Stanford Brown, Jason Jacobson, Kyle Haas. We got David got us. I'm going to read 4 more. Jacob Bontrager, Tyler Herman, David Harden, and David Sichowski. I've actually talked on the phone with David a while back.
I am looking at some folks here who have supported for a long time and in a big way. Kurt Gazow. Sorry if I said your last name wrong, Kurt. I see you around the internet a lot, and I've often wondered, how do I say your last name? Jonathan Paz, who I've seen around the internet an awful lot as well. Simon Thorpe, we've interacted with him. There's Sarah Sims. Of course, Sarah Sims supports on NDQ. She was my first patron ever on TMBH, and like the first person ever with TMBH to just make an effort. She wrote me a really nice letter way, way back in the day when I was just getting started, and it was just encouraging and helpful, and hey, there you are. That's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's someone here named Leland, and I'm going to read 3 more, and we could go on forever, but I just want to say thank you to Sauon, Fraser Mackey, and Jonas Ingard. These are people that have supported for a while, and they support not in dollars, in different denominations of money, and that's awesome.
And I would like to say thank you to Jeremiah, who just goes by Jeremiah and has been supporting for a long time. Cliff Aldridge, Stanford Brown. See Stanford Brown around quite a bit. When you actually scroll through here and you look at names, it's really interesting how many of these folks you realize, yeah, they're invested in the thing. They want whatever this kind of internet is to happen. But also, like, weird, I've kind of gotten to know some of these people a little bit just over the ebb and flow and natural course of interneting. And that means they've made an effort to be around and to invest in us in ways that go beyond kicking in on Patreon. And I don't know, it means a lot. I'm enjoying this.
The weird thing is that you kind of get used to people's avatars. Like you see the little icon, you're like, oh, it's that color icon that brings, and I associate all these conversations with that. That's kind of how it works in my head, with the exception of Tennessee
I do the
cornbread,
same.
which is Tennessee cornbread.
Yeah, I don't know if I would recognize Jason Adink, who is supported on like every platform at one point or another. But I think I might if I ran into Jason in person, because I have seen that avatar everywhere for a very long time.
What's encouraging is seeing these people who've supported for years, like years, and also seeing
Yeah.
people that are starting like last month. That's super encouraging. So I'm grateful. I'm all the way grateful. So thank you so much for being a Wing to Sard supporting on Patreon.
Agreed.
I think I can answer that for me.
I'm all ears.
What do you do when you make a mistake?
That's still the question on the table. Yep.
Own it as quickly as possible. You know what? I've got a book right here. Hold on. This is, boom. Dude, had my pen in the page. This is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. We have cause to be uneasy is the chapter 5, page 36. We all want progress, but progress means getting nearer to the place where you want to be. And if you have taken a wrong turning, then to go forward does not get you any nearer. If you're on the wrong road, progress means doing an about turn and walking back to the right road, and in that case, the man who turns back soonest is the most progressive man. And then, a couple of sentences later, well, here, I'll just read the rest. We have all seen this when doing arithmetic. When I have started the sum the wrong way, the sooner I admit this and go back and start over again, the faster I shall get on. And then I've actually highlighted this line. There is nothing progressive about being pig-headed and refusing to admit a mistake. And I think, if you look at the present state of the world, it is pretty plain that humanity has been making some big mistake. We're on the wrong road, and if that is so, we must go back. Going back is the quickest way on. Come to think of it, this philosophy I have is influenced by that very passage I just read to you. If you've made a mistake, or if I've made a mistake, the fastest turnaround I can do, the quickest about face and owning of the mistake, you have to own it as quickly as possible. Okay, yeah, totally just flew a drone into my face. All right, let me go not fly drones and or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, you stop. You don't put it right back in the air and fly it right back into your face. Obviously, you stop.
The quicker I can own the mistake and turn around and move towards correcting it, the better. That's the immediate action. And then, obviously, the next thing is try to have an after-action review with yourself, learn what you did wrong, and try to figure it out. And often that involves other humans. Because clearly my brain can't do the math problem. When Lewis says, when I have started to sum the wrong way, the sooner I admit this and go back and start over again, the faster I shall get on. When I was studying for calculus or differential equations or whatever in school, it's not uncommon to be like, hey man, I'm getting the wrong answer. I'm doing something wrong. Can you help me? And then that addition of that second brain gives you an external viewpoint into how your brain is working. I guess I would say admit the mistake, own it, ask for help to figure out where you went wrong.
Could I propose, in addition to that excellent answer, could I propose adding just one intermediary step?
Which is?
I think you still have to fix the outstanding damage. So in my case, the obvious thing to do after you fly a drone into your face is you're probably going to want to mend your face, get that blood off of it, probably going to have to repair the drone, which I did have to do. If you damage another person, before you can get onto the after-action report, I think you got to stop that bleeding too, right?
I would say that for me, that step more often happens afterwards. It's not until I come to terms with the fact that I am making a mistake that I can learn and then correct. Like, how do you take an intermediate step to repair a drone that's shattered on the ground until you first dealt with the mistake? In my case, we're sitting there looking at pieces of drone. Well, okay, first thing, I wrote this safety plan. It didn't work. Clearly, it didn't work. A drone hit this vehicle 8 inches from my coworker's head. He could have died. This was my best effort to get this right. I clearly got this wrong. boop, hit the radio. Mr. Safety Officer, I need help. And he comes in, and he's the older, wiser person that's seen a lot of stuff in the past, and he's got this young man sitting in front of him that's trying really, really hard, but he's trying really, really hard in the wrong direction. And so he's like, all right, young man, what happened? And he didn't talk to me like that. He talked to me like a peer, even though he shouldn't have. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Where's the pilot? He's up there. Okay, let's go talk to him. And then you just get all the information. You get that external perspective. Okay, this is what happened. Clearly, it was wrong. Let's fix it. Now, how do we fix this drone? That kind of thing.
So what do you do specifically to make sure you internalized the lesson and that you turn it into tuition? Practically speaking, do you sit and think to yourself, okay, exactly how did I do this? Do you make a new rule for yourself? Do you put new bumpers on your life? Do you ever take those bumpers off later when you feel like you've adjusted? What's your actual process for learning from a mistake?
Is this the one place in life where regret is a tool?
Sure could be, yeah. I think I've been very well motivated by regret in this context at times. I don't know. I think regret can always motivate you well. I was about to contrast that to like the old guy who's approaching the end of life, and he looks back and he's like, I should have done this, and I should have told these people these things. Well, you're still alive to think it. Call them. Do it. So even in that situation, I think that's regret that can be easily made into something profitable. Yeah, I think regret can be a healthy motivator. Maybe we're shying away from regret too much right now, culturally.
Regret and shame are different, aren't they?
I think they are. I don't feel shame about flying that thing into my face, but I regret it. I mean, it was an expensive mistake, and it could have done much greater damage than it did. It was a disruption to a day that wasn't about me and my stupid head. Yeah, I regret it, but I don't feel shame.
Sometimes we use the word shame when what we really mean is embarrassment. Like, it's embarrassing to... I've made even bigger mistakes, at work that I don't want to talk about on microphones. And I'm embarrassed. I'm genuinely embarrassed that it happened on my watch. Nobody was hurt. But I don't know. I just think shame and embarrassment are different. I think that embarrassment is a form of emotional pain. And I don't know, pain, regret, embarrassment. I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it?
Well, embarrassment is you seeing yourself through probably a fair estimation of the lenses of others. It's a moment of awareness, of awakening. Whereas shame, I think, exceeds the opinions of others.
Shame is personal. Embarrassment involves other people. Is that what you're saying?
Is empathetic. Yeah. At least that's how I think of the two. So if I embarrass myself playing sports by screwing something up, I'm not really a lose my temper at sports guy, but let's say I lose my temper, hit a ball, yell a little bit, something like that. Okay, well, I should be embarrassed about that because it's not hard for me a moment later to be like, oh my goodness, there are people here. They're watching. They're out trying to have fun and play sports with me, and I'm behaving like this. I can now see my behavior through their lenses, and I feel embarrassed as I look at me from their perspective. Shame is something much more abiding. Shame goes even beyond a reasonable estimation of other people's impression of my behavior and goes into the deep lies about my worthlessness and about how this mistake is somehow reflective of the meta-narrative of my failure and my uselessness. Shame goes far beyond the critique that you would get from others and into something much less fair, much more crippling, much more withering. So I do think they're different.
I read an article. First of all, thank you for that. That was valuable. I read an article last night about something that happened, and it hurt to read. I was overwhelmed by empathy for the person that has kind of drawn themselves as a warrior against, you got the left and right thing going on right out in the world, where this person has clearly chosen a side, and they're being very loud about their position.
Okay.
And this person is an actor, a famous actor, and I read where there was an accident where they had a prop gun, and this actor, they were filming this thing, accidentally killed a person on set yesterday.
The actor did?
Yes. Have you read this?
I saw the headline. I didn't read the article. That's sobering. I didn't understand that's what had happened.
It's my understanding that they were doing something and somehow a prop gun was involved and the cinematographer on set was killed. And this is a super famous person that did it. And I just feel really, really bad for this individual. I don't know what they're feeling or thinking, and I don't know any of the details right now. So I'm thinking, you were thinking about the empathy part of embarrassment. Clearly, this person is probably embarrassed, but they probably feel incredible regret. But surely they couldn't have known that this is what was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking about this person today in an empathetic way, a loving, kind, like I pray for them because they're going to bear this shame internally for something that probably wasn't their fault. Something I'm thinking about. Do you see what I just texted you?
I did.
You reading the article?
Oh my goodness. No. I'm not reading the article. I'm just reading the summary. All right, in light of that, we've talked about the stuff that you do, maybe a little bit about the stuff that I try to do to turn it into tuition. I made a mistake. I got something wrong, regardless of my motives. Maybe I was a little off the rails. Maybe I had the best of intentions. Either way, I got something wrong. Here's a way to, at least a little bit, get some value out of the mistake and learn. We talked about trying to make things right with anybody who might have got hurt or been wronged in the process as well. But what do you do when you see somebody else make a mistake and they know it and they get it? What do you do in that kind of a situation to help them get what they need to get out of it? What do you give to somebody who's made a mistake?
I changed my pronouns. That may have sounded like a joke. It's not. So instead of saying, well, what did you do and how can you fix it? I say, well, where are we at? What do we need to do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I get on the same side of the table as the individual, and I try to say, okay, what's our plan? How do we get from where we're at to where we need to be? Who did we offend?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one subtle change I do.
Well, and contrast that with, oh, Simba, what have you done? I mean, it's that voice of slithering blame that you get from Scar in The Lion King. There's a very intentional use of you pronouns there by contrast.
Yeah, I've read some articles and books about torture of POWs. And one of the techniques, the psychological torture, is they will have you as the captured one say the things that you've done. I am this and I have done this, and so that you identify as a type of, they try to figure out what bad things you've done. If they can put you in an impossible situation and make you do a certain thing having to do with food related to other prisoners, for example, and then they make you say that you did it, they make you like wear that shame, and they wear you down with it. I don't know. So where is shame useful? I don't know. This is a lot, Matt. You flew a drone into your face.
Hold on. Let's not make that pivot just yet.
Okay, got it. Go ahead.
We just lost train of thought just for a second. That's not where we want to land this.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I like that answer, that making this a shared burden by something as simple as a pronoun pivot to the nosotros and away from the two. Like, we're going to own this thing together. That says what needs to be said. We're solving it. Yeah, I guess something that's helped me that I've seen people do is to overtly and directly articulate forgiveness. Even if I didn't ask, beating me to the punch on forgiveness. Hey, I don't know if you feel like you need it or if you're even asking, but just in case it's sitting there, like, I forgive you for what happened. Now let's figure it out. The times people have come alongside me and said, you're forgiven, while still obviously acknowledging, do we need to fix what I did? Boy, that's life-giving. That reframes everything. It releases me from the burden of saying, this mistake is me now.
I was something else for all this time. Then I did this thing. And now all of that is gone, and this is me. The power of someone coming alongside me and releasing me from that redefinition of myself when I'm already under great duress is huge.
It all comes back to forgiveness, doesn't it?
If it's not the most powerful thing in the world, I mean, everybody says love, but the kind of love that people mean when they say that is love untested, love not under duress. It's love when it's easy. Forgiveness is love when it's hard. Yeah, bottom line is I flew a drone into my face. It was really dumb. I didn't mean to do a bad thing. I'm so glad the situation wasn't worse. But it's one of those things where then I got a long drive all the way back across Nebraska and South Dakota. Kids are reading. Camilla's reading. And I'm just staring out the window, thinking and driving about what could have been. And there's something here that I need to be taken from this. This is a cute anecdote, and it's funny, and it's fun. But this was a very low-cost, high-value lesson if I just think about it. So it just made me curious as to what you do when you make a mistake and how you wring all of the value out of the mistake that you possibly can, how you go about making changes after you botch something, and I appreciate you being willing to go there with me.
I mean, bottom line is, man, we're imperfect, and I'd put money on you never hitting yourself in the face with a drone again. I'd put good money on that. But you will make another mistake.
I'm hoping. Yes, I've made mistakes since, and that's only been 2 months.
I'm going to make another mistake. I'm going to make another big mistake. There's also a thing there where you have to be able to forgive yourself. You have to love yourself in the not selfish way enough to know your limitations and also be willing to forgive yourself. And I think that's something that I'm not willing to concede that to the current way discourse in our society works, where, oh, you did a bad thing once, you should wear that forever. I'm not willing to concede that that's the way I'm going to live my life. So I think it's important to be able to forgive yourself as well once you've gone through that journey that you're talking about of forgiveness and correction. And as Lewis says, flippity flip here in the pages, if you're on the wrong road, progress means doing an about turn and walking back to the right road. I love that. When I first read that, it changed me.
I do too. I'm delighted you happened to have that right on hand because you didn't know what this conversation was about at all. And there that book is sitting, and there that's on your mind. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the topic, man, and happy birthday.
Thank you for the magnificent twofold gift, one of the album and two of the incident you provided for me. Thank you.
It's all good. I enjoyed this, man.
Likewise, buddy. Catch you soon.
Hasta.